Well, thanks for joining us today, friends. We are at the beautiful Cottonwood Library in their newly remodeled um, room for podcasts. So we truly thank them for inviting us in. We have today Isaac Dudley, who's the project flows manager for Friends of the Verde River. And today we want to talk to Isaac a little bit about his river friendly living program. So I understand, Isaac, that the River Friendly Living Program has been in place for quite a few years now. So if you just want to give us some background and perhaps what your role is like with Friends of the Verde.
Sure. Thanks, Susan. So the River Friendly Living Program really came about throughout 2020 and 2021. It's kind of a culmination of a lot of our existing programs with some additional elements layered on top of it. It really came out of the watershed report card, where Friends of the Verde and other partners are working to measure indicators across the Verde watershed to assess the health of the Verde River. And so the River Friendly program is a way to inspire and recognize our our local residents and businesses, along with other types of organizations, to be able to take these steps and build capacity in our community for river conservation. And so the key element of River Friendly is that it's a voluntary program. Where we're working to provide support and consultation for people doing this work, as well as inspire them to take additional steps.
Wonderful. So could you tell us a little bit more about where members of our community can learn, about river friendly living and get some details from you and just a little bit more about the program details?
Sure. So some of the focus areas to start with for the program are sustainable water supply, clean water, healthy habitat, and community education. So these are all elements that tie back to the watershed report card, as I mentioned. So ways that people can learn a little bit more about the program, they can visit our website, of course, verderiver.org. There they can find home checklists and surveys or business surveys, along with educational resources and grant opportunities to help support this work.
Wonderful. Can you tell us a little bit more about your grant opportunities, maybe where they started and what's new about those opportunities?
Absolutely. So our grant program through Friends of the Verde River has been in existence for quite a long time. It started in 2014. It was under a different name at that time. It was kind of modeled after the 1% for Open Space program out of Colorado. So it was one of our initiatives to bring that type of work here. And basically, historically, it's always been a business-funded grant program. So we work with anywhere between 30 to 50 businesses each year, and they directly support the fund that provides these grants. So we have a lot of cool collaborations throughout the Verde Valley and beyond. So that can look like collaborative beer projects or wine, percentage of a service or, a stay at a local Airbnb. So there's a lot of diverse ways that businesses are participating in this program. Since then, the grant program was paired with another one of our pre-existing programs called the Verde River Exchange, which is really the water savings mechanism for river-friendly living. So since then, the program has expanded quite significantly, and we've been able to not only bring in our local businesses, but also get some additional investment from the state and from large corporations down in the lower watershed, such as the Phoenix metro area.
Wonderful. So you're expanding into, what are the surrounding areas that you're expanding into specifically for the grants?
For the grant specifically, we've always had a big focus on, Verde watershed communities. So that could be anywhere from Chino Valley and Paulden and Prescott up near the headwaters of the Verde River to Flagstaff, which is really the tallest point, the highest point in the watershed, all the way down to the confluence with the Salt River. Now we're working with some additional partners down in the Phoenix metro area to expand that work into the SRP service area. And for our listeners, SRP is the Salt River Project. And so they depend on water from the Verde River for both providing water to citizens as well as production of electricity. So there's a big stake there for keeping the river flowing from the headwaters all the way down so that they can use that water. And beyond that, our communities here in the Verde Valley greatly depend on that for irrigation, for all types of different water uses here in the Verde Valley.
So our watershed preservation efforts are pretty darn important to just about every community that within the watershed and that the Verde River and/or the combination of Verde and salt touches. So great information. What and how, I guess, would members of the community learn about your grants and where and who can apply and where would they go to apply?
Absolutely. So the grants are available to anybody that participates in the River Friendly program. The starting place for most people is to fill out either the home checklist or the business survey. Typically, that's followed up with a site visit and a consultation. We highly recommend anybody considering to apply for a grant to request a consultation from Friends of the Verde River. We're able to typically offer about an hour's worth of consultation to all participants. So from there, you can find the full grant application and eligibility requirements on the Friends of the Verde website. You can go to verderiver.org/grants, and that has all of that information. The proposal process itself, we've tried to make as simple as possible for all of these different constituents. So, the main items that are involved there is a description of the project and the benefit to the watershed. So typically that looks like water savings, right? But beyond just water, we also include habitat improvement projects and community education as well. So if somebody's looking to fill out their proposal, and they've already done the consultation, typically all we need are those written descriptions, but then additionally 2 photos of the project site and a budget. So it's fairly simple, and of course Friends of the Verde River staff is always right here willing to help people dig into those details and be able to write up the proposal in the most competitive way possible.
Perfect. So if I were, say, a business and we're interested in, doing a proposal, doing an application, what types of projects might qualify for your grant?
Yeah. So this fall, we have a big focus on irrigation efficiency, lawn removal, and indoor water efficiency projects. So irrigation efficiency projects could look like leak repair, or possibly upgrading from flood irrigation to sprinkler or drip. Flood irrigation is typically shown to only be about 40% efficient, so it uses a lot of water with a fairly minimal benefit to the crop or to your landscaping. So by upgrading to sprinkler, you can typically achieve about a 70% efficiency rate, which has a very significant water savings. Or if you're going even further to, say, a drip irrigation process, that can show about a 90% efficiency. So there's a lot of water savings that can be achieved there. Beyond that, we also try to inspire people to install things like rain harvesting projects, pollinator gardens, and oftentimes we work with schools or other nonprofits to implement education programs to really bring awareness of these programs and efforts to the broader community.
Perfect. What types of educational endeavors do you have in place to educate the people in the community as to what would be most beneficial for their area?
So starting with just what Friends of the Verde River is doing, we offer workshops and community presentations. As I mentioned, of course, we do in-person consultations. But beyond that, we've funded several different projects over the years to expand that. One great example is the Verde River Stewardship and Monitoring Program that we funded through the Verde River Institute, one of our partner organizations, as well as some projects with some of our local schools, such as Mingus Union High School or the Cottonwood Community School. Some of our other work beyond just the River Friendly Living program tries to inspire kids to get involved through things like the Bio Blitz, And of course, we have our large events, the Verde Valley Birding and Nature Festival, and the upcoming conference later this fall. So one of the really exciting things that are coming up in this program, we talked a little bit about how the program is expanding. So we were able to get a WIFA conservation grant through the state of Arizona to specifically expand our work in the Camp Verde area. So there's a lot of folks there that are very dependent on especially surface water, irrigating from the Verde River channel specifically. And so this, over the coming 2 years, 2025 and 2026, we're going to be able to offer about $150,000 worth of grants. So we're going to be trying to implement about 50 home, residential projects, and roughly 10 or so business and organization projects.
That is great to hear. I bet you the residents of Camp Verde are super happy to hear that. What initiatives have you taken to move into Camp Verde already, and what kind of is the timeline also for applications?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with the timeline question. So our current grant cycle is open now. So we are currently accepting proposals. It's been open since the start of August, and proposals will be due on Halloween, so October 31st of this year. So that'll be for this fall. Specifically, we'll have about $51,000 to be able to award out to residents and all the different levels of our community for this fall cycle. What's particularly exciting about Camp Verde is that we'll be able to offer a spring grant cycle as well. So next spring in calendar year 2025. It'll be the first time that we've been able to offer a spring cycle as well. And so the deadline for those will be March 31st, and the awards will probably go out in April or May.
Okay, very good. While people are making out the applications, or completing the applications, is there any advice you can give them to navigate through those applications should they have questions, et cetera?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of our efforts is to educate people on how to calculate the water savings that their potential project might have. So one of the first recommendations I give to people is to use our free tools that are available to us online. So Google Earth is a great example of one of those free tools. And so essentially you're able to quickly measure the surface area for the watershed that you're looking at, whether that's just your property or a parking lot or roofscape. And then we can, from there, determine about how much water you could save or capture through, for example, a rain harvesting project. So just to quickly dig into that a little bit, it's a very simple formula. So you take that square footage area, you multiply it times how much rain we get here in the Verde Valley, which is about 14 inches per year. And then you multiply that times a conversion factor. So that factor is 0.623, and that gives you gallons captured. So it can be very simple. Let's say you have a 100 square foot area. We get 14 inches of rain. You multiply that together, and then you multiply it times the 0.623 conversion factor, and that gives you how many gallons you could capture throughout the year. So, of course, I encourage people to use our free tools that are out there. Once you have an idea of the benefits of your project, then you can very quickly fill out the rest of the application. It's very simple. So you provide that description. You show us 2 pictures of where that project is going to take place on your property, and then fill out that budget information. So we want to know, how are you spending? How are you spending the grant funds if you were to be awarded? And that's really all there is to it for the application. Like I said, we've tried to make it as simple as possible. And of course, myself, I am available to help people determine, what is the best project to apply for, and even help write the grant.
That's great information as well. One more question from us. Wondering if you could give us a little bit of an idea of how you plan to expand You mentioned Phoenix area because it's a very important factor there. So could you tell us just a little bit more about your approach to the Phoenix and surrounding areas?
So the biggest way that we're trying to get into the Phoenix area right now is by, working with our existing partners. We work very closely with Local First Arizona. I mentioned Salt River Project, the city of Phoenix. We have a lot of partners down there. And so we're trying to really offer this program as a complement to some of the existing programs that are there. They have rebates for water efficiency. They have some funding available for lawn removal and things like that already. But this is a way that we can, stack funding opportunities on top of each other. So in some cases, folks are using our grant program as a way to get started and then leverage that grant award for additional funding. And a great example of that are some of the developments that we've been working with. This small grant program is often, just a drop in the bucket for them. But it is able to provide additional incentive for other funding groups. And like I said, be able to stack those rebates on top of each other just to really maximize the financial benefit of doing this work.
Right. It seems like it's an integral piece to the puzzle, and it's great that we're working so closely with the partners throughout the watershed to get things accomplished for people that will really make a difference in, sustaining our unique watershed area. Isaac, is there anything we need to know that perhaps we didn't ask that you would like us to know about your programs or about your time with Friends of the Verde over the years you've been here?
Sure. So I'll start with some of our other program opportunities there. So beyond just the grant opportunities, of course, we have other incentive mechanisms to be able to inspire people to do this work. And so the River Friendly Living Program at its core is a certification program. So we are able to assess how is your property being managed right now, and then from there determine additional steps that could be taken. And so that's oftentimes where the grant program comes in, but it's not necessarily the only way for people to do this work. One of the other ways that people can save water and reduce their water footprint is by purchasing Verde River exchange credits. I mentioned that a little bit earlier in the podcast here. So the exchange is one of the key water savings mechanisms in the River Friendly Living program. And the way that works is it balances incoming or increased demand for groundwater or surface water with conservation projects that are saving an equivalent amount. A fantastic example of that in Clarkdale is our river-friendly beer collaboration with Smeltertown Brewery. And so each year we have one or two brew cycles where we get to make this really delicious beer. And then, of course, they donate a little bit from the sale of that beer. But what's really cool is that was then paired with a conservation project. Typically, that's an irrigation improvement project, or perhaps an irrigator agrees to reduce the amount of water that they're using. We pair those two projects so that beer actually saves about 200,000 gallons of water per year. And so that directly keeps the water in the Verde River system. So homeowners have the opportunity to do that as well. So, Isaac Dudley, as a private homeowner in Cottonwood, Arizona, I want to have the least amount of impact to our water resources as possible. So I can purchase those credits for about $125 for 200,000 gallons worth of savings. So it's quite an affordable process, but that also helps fund these ongoing conservation projects, right? And so that's just one of the ways that people can go above and beyond, and that's one of the things we're trying to inspire people to do: reduce their water footprint, just be more conscious as river stewards overall. So a little bit more about myself and my time at Friends of the Verde River. So it's almost been 7 years that I've been working with the organization. I started out doing a lot of fundraising and communications work, and recently transitioned into the project management side. And so what I'm most excited about the work here at Friends is really seeing these projects take place on the ground, right? And so that's been a really great opportunity over my entire time here, to really be able to watch the projects go from conceptualizing to physically being on the ground and having all of these awesome environmental benefits.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Isaac, for all of your great information, for letting us know about Friends of the Verde, a peek into the organization, and as well as your river-friendly living programs that there'll be more to come for sure. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you, viewers, for your time. And I'm Susan Van Norman, Stewardship Director with Friends of the Verde, thanking you as well. And one more thank you to Cottonwood Library for this great podcast room and this wonderful opportunity. If you have a chance to come and look at it, please contact John or Paula and do sign it out. It's a great little space. Thanks again. Thanks, Isaac. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.